Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Aquarium of the Pacific's Aquarium Online Academy. My name is Emily, and I'm joined here today with my friend Stewie, and we are so happy and so excited to be talking with you this afternoon. I wanted to let you know, for those of you that are streaming us live, we have a way for you to contact us here in the studio. So we're broadcasting all the way from Long Beach, California, which is about 45 minutes outside of Los Angeles. But if you want to talk to us, we would love to hear from you during our program today. You can text us at this number right here. It's 562-286-1838. Once again, if you are watching this live, you can text us at 562-286-1838. If you happen to be watching this on recording and you still have questions, like you're watching it on YouTube, you can email us and we're happy to take your questions at any time. The email address for that is live, L-I-V-E, at lbaop.org. And that stands for Long Beach Aquarium of Pacific. So that's live at lbaop.org. All right, wonderful. Well, we are excited to talk to you today. We're going to be talking about senses. That's the way that we know all about the world around us. Now, we have a bunch of senses that help us understand the world around us. Stewie, if you can show us, once again, this is a live look at our large tropical habitat. We call it Big Trop. So if you were able to see this on the screen, what senses could you use to figure out a little bit more about this habitat? Any ideas? We have 5 senses. Well, we're definitely using one right now. If you're able to see this screen, we are using our sense of sight. So we use our eyes to see. That's definitely one of our senses. What else could we be using to find out a little bit more information about this habitat? What's it like inside? Well, another thing that I could do is maybe I could go over to the exhibit behind the scenes, and if I wanted to figure out if it was hot or cold, maybe I could also dip my finger in and touch it, and that could tell me more about this habitat. So we can see things, we can touch things. Now, do you think there's another sense that we could use to find out more information about the world around us? Maybe let's take a look here at this shell right here. I've got an abalone shell here. I can definitely see it. I definitely can touch it. Oh, it feels bumpy. Oh, it feels bumpy only on this side, though. What do you think this side might feel like? Oh, it's definitely smoother. It's kind of shiny on the inside. What other senses do we have? Oh, you're right. I could smell it with my nose. Now, this doesn't smell like much. Yeah, it doesn't really smell like much. But maybe if there was an animal living in it, like an abalone, like the snail, maybe I could smell the snail or the salt water, that salty, fresh smell of the ocean around it. What other senses do we have? We can see, we can touch, we can smell. Oh, you know what? I just thought of one because I just ate lunch. When you ate lunch, you tasted it. You're right. You taste your food. So maybe you tasted a peanut butter and jelly sandwich today. That sounds delicious. So we use our taste to know the world around us. And there's one more sense that we use. So we can see, we can smell, we can touch, we can taste. And what's that? Oh my gosh, you're right. We can hear. We use our ears to hear. So those are our 5 senses. And we're going to explore that even more today here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. Now, what I want to do is, Stewie, if you can patch us through to my friend, Captain Joe, that will really help us sort of figure out this exploration a little bit more. Can you get us through to him?
Hello, boys and girls. Captain Joe of the Ocean Rangers. Now, I'm here observing this huge group of fish behind me, and just watching them, have you ever wondered on how they all move together and turn at the same exact time? I always thought this as well, and I think this is a great place for us to start our exploration of senses today. Now, there are many reasons why a fish would be in a group or school. Well, not that kind of school. I'm talking about a group of fish. It's called a school. Now, so many different reasons why they would be in it. Maybe finding food, avoiding predators, even getting new boyfriends and girlfriends. But Have you ever wondered why they can do this or how?
Oh, actually, that's a great question, Joe. I've always wanted to know that. How do they school?
Well, it just so happens that fish have the same senses as us, but they use them a little differently sometimes too. In addition to taste, smell, hearing, sight, and touch, they can also sense movement. And this is because of a special line of nerves down their side called a lateral line.
That's so interesting. So there's a lateral line. It's a series of little pits all down the side of the fish. If you've ever seen a fish, maybe even at the grocery store in the case, you can look in there and see, or if you guys ever go fishing, there's little pits all the way down the side. And those pits actually are the sense organ that fish use to detect the world around them. So really, really interesting. And that's how they're able to sense movement of the fish that are around them. So take a look at this. All these fish are moving together. So they can feel all their neighbors around them. And when one turns, the rest of them turn too. So they're all able to swim together. Have a look here. It's a little hard to see. There's lateral lines, but you can definitely see the schooling movement here of these fish. Now, fish that school together are able to stay safe because there's safety in numbers. Sometimes there's also fish that may not school in as tight a ball like that, like what we could see in our blue cavern exhibit, but they'll sometimes sort of stay in a looser group together. They can still feel the fish around them, but that's called shoaling instead of schooling. Now, let's see if we can check back in with Joe to see if he's got anything else going on here.
It is amazing. And not only that, but studio,
are you okay?
I think I just felt something swoosh against my arm here. I definitely felt something. Whoa! There it was again. Boys and girls, I think there is something in here with me. I just don't.
Oh goodness. Well, Joe, we'll see if we can reconnect with him later there. That was really kind of interesting. I'm not sure. I mean, I guess we'll just check in with him. In the meantime, let's play a game to see if we can explore a little bit more about some critters that live here at the aquarium. So have a look at one of our games here. Let's see what Stewie's going to show us. Now, have a look at this picture right here. We haven't shown you all of the pictures, but use one of your senses, your sense of sight, and you can tell us what you think this animal is. Now, I know it has a number listed there. We're actually going to have you text in, if possible, instead. So we're going to cover that. If you can text in your guesses to 562-286-1838, see if you can use your sense of sight to predict what animal do we have right here. Have a look. Any guesses? We got a couple of guesses coming in. I can hear it coming through our text line right here. Or rather, I can see it. Interesting. There's a couple of clues here. Any guesses? Can you guess at home? Let's see if Stewie can show us the rest of the picture here. Oh, so close. I heard that some of you were thinking that it might be some kind of bird. Now, this bird is a crested auklet, which is a bird that we happen to have here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. They live in our North Pacific Gallery, which is very, very cold water, and it's a special type of diving bird. My favorite thing about the crested auklet is that they have the big feathers on their face right there, and that is something that makes them really distinctive, especially during their breeding season. They like to show off how beautiful they are because they also like to look at each other too. So great use of your sense of sight to have a look at these animals here. Now, let's go ahead and see if we can check back in with Joe. Stewie, do you think he's okay? What's going on there? Oh, Stewie thinks he might be doing okay. Let's check in and see what's going on.
My octopus and I could play baseball together. We'd be a whole team all by ourselves.
Joe.
Could you imagine that? That'd be so crazy.
Joe. I don't.
Studio, call for help.
Joe,
Can't fight tentacles for much longer. No
I know.
bones.
Look at those
So
tentacles.
Flexible.
You know you're on camera, right?
Oh, it's a purple one. The kind that eats ocean rangers.
Well, that's a giant Pacific octopus, maybe?
What?
I'm not really sure. Maybe we should learn more about them.
Well, that's good news.
Yeah, I don't think they're into ocean rangers.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah.
But I wonder where I could learn more information about octopuses.
Well, for starters, you're sitting in front of the exhibit. It could be a good place to start.
So I am.
Yeah.
I bet you we can find an expert really close that can teach us all about these awesome animals.
Oh, definitely. Let's see if we can find out a little bit more about our octopuses. But in the meantime, I think we can clip over to our expert, right? We're going to take a break and talk and check in with our Molina Animal Care Center, which is where our veterinary staff take care of our animals. So let's go ahead and have a look in the meantime while we're looking for an expert and check in with Shara here.
Hi boys and girls and ocean rangers. My name is Shara Seals and I'm a veterinary technician here at the Molina Animal Care Center. This is our veterinary hospital for all of our animals here at the aquarium. We do take care of a lot of different types of animals here, from the smallest of fish to the biggest of sea lions, and then birds and reptiles too. Today I'm going to tell you a little story about one of our reptiles, Lloyd. He's a chuckwalla. His keepers noticed him acting a little differently, and so they brought him to the hospital so that we could check him out. Dr. Adams examined him, and I took x-rays of him, and this is what we found. Reptiles don't drink a lot of water, so waste doesn't pass through them like it should. Over time, inside Lloyd's bladder, this grew. It got too big, so we had to take him to surgery to remove it. Let me show you our operating room. This is where we performed Lloyd's surgery. All right, this is our operating table. For Lloyd's surgery, we put him under anesthesia with this machine right here, which means he went to sleep for a little while. And while he was sleeping, we listened to his heart and his lungs, and we even monitored his temperature with this mat that's kept him warm during surgery. During Lloyd's surgery, we were able to remove this, and afterwards we gave him stitches so that he could heal. After a couple of weeks, the keepers brought Lloyd back to the vet hospital to remove his stitches. Lloyd was an excellent patient, and now he feels much better. Thanks for joining me.
Oh, well, thanks for that information, Shara. That's really helpful. We take care of all of our animals here at the aquarium, and they get state-of-the-art health care, back at our Molina Animal Care Center here. So it's great to be able to check in and see what else is going on here at the aquarium. Now, we did get a bunch of questions. While we're waiting on Joe to help find an expert on the octopus, let's check in with some of the questions that you guys have texted in today. One person texted in, why is it called Big Trop? Why was our first exhibit that we showed you called Big Trop? So maybe Stewie can show us a view of Big Trop so you can use your senses to watch Big Trop here. It's called Big Trop because it is our biggest exhibit and it happens to be a tropical reef gallery. Now, when you visit us here at the aquarium, you actually see this one habitat a number of times, and the entire tropical wing wraps around it, and there's little windows at each part. And we're able to show lots and lots of different animals. They all sort of swim through the exhibit. Some of them stay in really small areas. Some swim, like our turtles and sharks, swim throughout the entire exhibit. So it's a really beautiful habitat here. So that's big trout. We got a lot of other great questions, though, about fish. Harper wanted to know, do fish have ears? And the answer is yes. Now, they don't have ears like this, but they do have like a little ear hole, and they have ear bones just like we do deep inside, and they're able to hear that way. Now, things sound a little bit different moving through water than through air like it does for us, but they have the same kind of structures other than the big external ear flap here. KK wrote in, how do fish breathe and smell? Great question. So fish actually breathe by passing water in through their mouth and out through the gills there. And it passes water over the gill flaps that they have on the inside, which almost look like little feathery fingers. If you tune in live today, later at, I think it's 3 p.m., we actually have a mackerel dissection, and you'll be able to see real gills because we're going to dissect a mackerel here live on air. So you'll be able to see that. So that's actually how fish breathe, but they smell a little bit differently. Now, we smell by taking air in through our nose, right? They have a slightly different set of systems because our nose is actually attached to our mouth. They actually just have little sort of dead-end pits called nares, and the air goes into their nares, and then they have little nerve endings in there that can help them process what kinds of smells that they can actually detect out there. Nathan wanted to know, what's the best sense to use in hunting? Great question, Nathan. That really depends on what kind of hunter you are. So for those of you who are following us, the Aquarium of the Pacific's website, we are releasing, our Pacific Pals are releasing new videos each and every day. Yesterday's video was from the Cuteness Zone, actually featured an ambush predator, and that was the spiny lumpsucker, a very cute fish, but they like to sit and wait. So for fish that like to sit and wait and then attack their food, or quickly get their food, they might be more visual than sort of other hunters. It really depends on the type of hunter. A non-ocean related animal that's a great hunter is like vultures and things like that. If you see them flying through the air, you can see they flap and they fly sort of like differently, like sort of like from side to side and things like that. And that's because they have really giant nostrils, and they're detecting and trying to smell for the food that they eat. And they actually eat carrion. They eat dead animals. So that's not an ocean related example, but so it just goes to show that the type of hunter you are really drives the type of senses that you would use when you are hunting. Vaughn asked another great question. Great questions today, by the way, everybody. I love the curiosity that we're seeing from our audience. Vaughn wanted to know, why is a group of fish called a school? We actually had to look that one up, but it looks like it comes from a Dutch root, and I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but it stands for a grouping of animals. So very similarly, a school and a shoal are different groupings of fish. And then Lauren wanted to know, how do they decide which way to go? Now here is a live look at our Blue Cavern exhibit. If you look in the very corner, we've got our schooling group of sardines up there. They're small fish. They like to swim together. They go with the flow. And so how do they decide? They wait for one to make a decision, and then the rest of them will follow. If you're ever in the area and you visit our facility, and if you go up to see some of our bigger schooling fish, up in the Pacific Visions Gallery, we do have some yellowtail up there. When they school together, I would say most of the time they're schooling in one direction, and it just takes the one daring fish to change directions, and then they will reverse. But by and large, they go with the flow. They really do. And then Ender wanted to know, what kind of octopus was attacking Joe? That's a great question. Maybe we'll find out. I think it was a giant Pacific octopus, though. We happen to have one here at the aquarium, and they're always pretty friendly. We're really lucky. Our octopuses have been pretty friendly. And then Katie wanted to know, how do fish live? Now, that's a great question. They live in all different ways, just depending on where they live and sort of how how they're adapted to their environment. So some of them make a living schooling and moving all day, like those sardines that you see sort of drifting off in the corner. Some of them hang out and just linger at the bottom. If you keep an eye on this webcam, occasionally we'll see a giant sea bass. They just hang out most of the time. They swim really slowly. There's others that school and hang out in the middle. It just really depends on the type of adaptations that they have and what they eat and how they hunt, how they attract mates. All of that stuff will play a role in the way that they live every single day. Another great question from someone, do octopuses have nostrils? That's a great question. Now, they don't actually have nostrils, they don't have any noses, but they have very, very excellent senses, and they're really, really smart. They have a donut-shaped brain inside of their head, and they're able to detect a lot about their environment. One way that they're able to do stuff that's a little bit different than us is they touch and taste at the same time. Do you remember ever having seen the bottom of an octopus's arm? They have all those little suckers all the way up, sometimes hundreds of them all over their arm. Each and every one of those suckers is able to hold on to stuff and taste stuff at the same time. Can you imagine what it would be like if you could right now reach down and touch the floor next to you? Can you taste it too? What if you could? That's what an octopus's life is like. They are tasting and touching all the time. In fact, when our octopus experts go to feed the exhibits, sometimes the octopus will come up and touch whoever is feeding just to figure out who it is. So it's a really interesting and amazing animal that has senses that are kind of like ours, but also a little bit different. We have 2 more questions, and then I'm going to go see if we can patch through to Captain Joe there. So thanks for being patient. I hope Joe's okay. Stewie, do you think he's okay? Stewie says he's probably okay. I hope so. I hope he's at least been able to find some expertise here in the aquarium. I got a question from that was, do pelicans eat fish from the sea? And the answer is yes, they do. That's why if you ever watch them, they'll soar over, and then they'll dip in and use their mouth to dip in and grab food that way. And then Adam asked another great question, and this is totally tied into, I bet, lunch hour thinking. Adam wanted to know, do fish burp? Well, so not all fish burp, but there are some fish that do. There's one fish that I can think of that is actually a fish made of cartilage, a shark, right? That's a fish made out of cartilage. The sand tiger shark actually does burp. It gulps air in and will burp the air back out. And that's how it helps sort of figure out if it's up high where things will float higher near the surface, or if it's down low, they'll actually help gulp air in and burp it back out. So before we get too late though, I definitely want to check in with Captain Joe just to see how he's doing. Let's check back in.
Hello, boys and girls. Guess what? I found an expert that works here at the aquarium. This is Angelina.
I'm an aquarist here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. I take care of some of our fish and invertebrates that live in our cold water exhibits in our Northern Pacific Gallery. My favorite animal to take care of here at the aquarium is our giant Pacific octopus.
Now, we're here talking about senses today, Angelina. Could you tell us about some of the senses that an octopus has?
Octopuses are pretty amazing, Captain Joe. As you can see, she can change her color and her texture to camouflage herself while living in her exhibit. Now, not only can she do that, but she has hundreds of suction cups down her arm that she uses to grasp things like her food, as well as explore her exhibit. And she's really, really strong. Now, not only is she really, really strong, but with those suction cups, she can even taste.
Now, taste. We talked about this beforehand. Do giant Pacific octopuses eat ocean rangers?
Oh no, they don't eat ocean rangers. Our octopus here at the aquarium likes to eat fish, shrimp, squid, clam, mussels, and especially crab.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Angelina, on teaching us about our giant Pacific octopus. She's very, very cool. We're going to go ahead and head right back to you guys at the studio.
Great, Joe. I'm so glad that Joe's doing okay. I'm glad that Angelina was there to answer some questions too. So we actually have some more questions to check in with before we wrap up for the day, because the audience out there, you are all doing so wonderfully. I love the questions that I'm hearing. Harper wanted to know, can some fish not see? And that actually is the case. There are some fish that see really well, and then there are some fish that don't really need their eyes at all or don't use much of their vision. It really depends on where they live and what their lifestyle is like. So if any of you have had a chance to see cave fish, now they're not saltwater fish, they're freshwater fish. Cave fish live in dark areas in caves, and there's no light there. So it looks like they don't even have eyes. And in fact, they almost don't have any color to their skin at all. They don't really need to have a color. So that's amazing. There's still other fish in the deep part of the deepest part of the ocean that they either have really big eyes so that they can see what very little light is down there, or they have reduced eyes or no eyes at all. So it really depends. Now, Sadie asked another great question. Sadie wanted to know, what do fish touch with if they don't have hands like we do? Well, they are able to feel through their skin, just like you and I do. And they also have that lateral line, which is a little series, like a little line of pits, like little holes all the way down their body. And those detect the pressure that's around them. So even though they don't have hands, they can still feel, just like you feel if someone taps you on the side, you can feel that. Or if you brush up against something cold, or you're standing, you open the refrigerator at the grocery store and it feels cold, that's because your skin is actually really good at touching, even if your fingers aren't actually touching anything. Your skin can feel a lot of that. Parker wanted to know, do fish sleep? And fish don't sleep like you and I do. They don't just shut their eyes and go to sleep for a couple of hours at a time. But fish do reach a state where they rest. And when they rest, their brain is able to sort of reset and recharge very much like the way that we do when we sleep. And that's called torpor. It looks like Jude and Gray wanted to know if sharks have a lateral line. They do. And they also have another touch-related detection system, except it's in their nose, it's in their snout, and they have these little pits with little goo at the bottom that not only feel vibrations, but also detect electricity. Those are called the ampullae of Lorenzini. And then, so many great questions. So that's actually how sharks are able to feel another way around their snouts. Harper also wanted to know, do fish have brains? They do have brains, not very complex brains, although I guess someone might be mad for me saying that. But they aren't always the smartest animals on the planet, but fish do have brains. And in fact, fish are trainable, much in the way that if you went to one of our seal and sea lion shows, we train fish here at the aquarium. They're a little bit smarter than you'd think. They're actually target trained, so they can go up to an object, touch their nose to it, get fed. It's actually how we're able to stretcher train them to move them from place to place for the bigger animals like the sharks. Haley and Alyssa, I'm just running through the questions here, wanted to know how many fish are in a school. It really depends. So the fish that school together can school with just a couple of fish, or they can school with tens of thousands of fish. It really depends. And then I got one last question here before we check back in with Joe one final time. I got a question about, why do dolphins have blowholes? That's a great question. Well, it's actually related to their breathing. So they have blowholes just like we have nostrils, except their blowhole allows them to breathe out. And it's on the top because that's closest to the surface of the ocean. So it makes a lot of sense for them to have something where they can just breathe out the top instead of like us through the end of our noses when they take a deep breath out. So great questions today, everybody. Let's check back in with Joe one last time here.
Thank you, boys and girls. It was my pleasure taking you through the aquarium today and teaching you more about animal senses. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to get back to some research that I started earlier today. Captain Joe, signing out.
All right, bye, Joe. It's great to see you. It's reading a story. It's like a pretty good idea there. All right. Well, we want to just wrap things up here at the Aquarium of the Pacific. We're so glad that you could join us today. If you have questions following this session, you're welcome to email us at live@lbaop.org. Once again, live, L-I-V-E, at lbaop.org. I hope you have a wonderful day and stay safe and healthy out there, everybody. Bye-bye.